after eating a meal, I always find myself just so much more jovial.
Oh,
And
of course.
I mean, it's just like the energy that you get from, especially sharing a meal with somebody.
Yeah.
Um,
That's what it's all about.
yeah, and in music, musicians share the same feeling when they perform for somebody. The energy, it's a drug. It's a natural high.
Sure.
Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the best things about what I do and what made me fall in love with cooking. Like we were talking before this, I had dropped out of college, at South, and I was just trying to figure, what my next move would be. And
Right.
so when I started cooking at home, I was living with my dad at the time, and he kind of started cooking as a hobby. And so we started cooking together, and that brought us closer together. But then, I wanted to bring friends over to test out recipes and,
Yeah.
kind of get their input and things like that. And it really is just about bringing people together,
Right.
and about just showing people that you care.
Fed the
Yeah.
lab rats.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So, but I think it's very similar to musicians, and to music where, you're making, these music and the songs, for you and the kind of music that you like to do.
Right.
But you're also doing it to reach out to other people and to, bring people together. And I think
Right.
it's very similar to cooking.
Yeah, the ability, the common music terminology is like you are the source of energy.
Yeah,
Whenever
yeah.
you're on stage.
Yeah.
Do you notice that when you're catering at an event that
Yes.
if the food's hidden, people are hidden, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It all transfers.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, you also especially with, a lot of times, the chefs, they're in the back of the house, they're in the kitchen. You don't really get to see them. But for me, I'm a lot of times, front and center, with what we do.
Gotcha.
Because, if because we started off during COVID, and we started off doing like private dinners. And
Was that tough
oh, yeah.
to start during COVID?
Yes and no. So I was running a restaurant downtown called Game Over.
Okay.
And the owners of that place shut it down,
Yeah.
like a lot of other places did. And so we, I didn't have a job for a while. And but my now wife, who I was living with at the time, she said, people are tired of eating out. People are tired of cooking.
Right.
Why don't you've been wanting to start your own business. Why don't you go ahead and do something, start a private chef business,
Got
and
you a good one.
yeah, I absolutely did. Oh yeah. So she, she helped me build a website. She helped me get kind of the social media stuff, because that's kind of her wheelhouse with what she does.
Gotcha.
And so we got that going, and then
It is a really well put together website.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. That's definitely she built it. I've just maintained it at this point.
Right.
So, but yeah, so we just did that and had our first dinner in June. It was just a couple of our friends hired us, to come over to their house and cook for them. And
Do you remember what the meal was?
oh man, I think it was like crab cakes and a Caesar salad, and it was like a 4-course meal. I think I did a bread pudding.
Okay.
And I can't remember. I think, it was like steak and potatoes and asparagus. It wasn't anything, over the top, but it was still really, really good.
That's out of my league. All that put together. And once you say crab cakes, that's,
Oh man, I mean, I make a mean crab cake,
That's right, yeah.
So but it was good, and also it was very much appreciated that them being our friends, supported us, from the get go to
Gotcha.
to bring us over and cook a meal for them in their house.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Really cool.
Welcome to the Gulf Coast. Welcome to the Gulf Coast. Welcome to the Gulf Coast.
Welcome, guys, to the Gulf Coast Music Podcast. Today's new wave, Rod from SheepsHead Eats.
Yes. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Man, it's so cool.
Yeah.
So how did you? So that is how you got started. Then,
Yeah.
Was breaking in. Was there a moment when you felt like it was kind of like destiny. Like it was a moment when you felt like you had it. You know.
Moment when I felt like I had it. I think it was more of a gradual thing.
Gotcha.
Just because, like I said, we started out in COVID. I had no idea if it was going to succeed or not. You know, I'm like, I knew we had a good website. I thought we had a cool name. I had reached out to a buddy of mine, Rando Dixon, to do the logo. I kind of had an idea of what I wanted the logo, but I can't draw for anything.
Right. Shout out to people who can draw.
Oh yes, absolutely. So he did. So I was like, all the pieces are there, but it's like it's just up to me to get out there and Unfortunately, I think our social media is really, really good, but it is not my favorite part of the job. But it's a necessary part of the job.
That's a good way to put it, yeah.
Posting pictures of the food, doing videos, that sort of thing. And so I just knew that our social media had to be.
Has it changed the way that you prepare and cook food to make it look appealing on social media?
Yeah. And my wife gets irritated with me sometimes because even, when we cook meals at home,
Don't touch it. I need to.
It's right. Exactly. She's like, you don't have to chef up every single meal, Rob. We
Right.
can just have a dinner.
Right.
And I'm like, I know. But so it kind of has, a little bit bleeded over into the personal life a little bit. But, I think it's more of just like, taking a picture of a dish or something like that, or like events that I'm at, that's not the it's not really the draining part. Draining is not the right word, but it's not it's the figuring out what to write, because, I'm not going to use ChatGPT. I want it to be authentic and everything like that. So it's like figuring out how to what to post with the picture and everything, and just kind of get those people. And then, when my wife got pregnant, we kind of upped the ante because I made her these New Orleans style barbecue shrimp. You know what I'm talking about since you're from New Orleans, know? So, and I've made this dish for us more times than I can count, and she loves it. And so I was like, oh, she's pregnant, she's craving some seafood. I know exactly what I'm going to make her. Right. So I made it, and she hated it. Absolutely hated it. The pregnancy hormones, her taste buds changed. I guess that's what it was, but she just couldn't eat it.
That's a plot twist.
I know.
You can't prepare for that.
I know. So I was like, you know what? I need to start recording what I make for you, and I'm going to have you judge it, because I just thought it would be something fun to do, just something extra for social media and all that stuff, and to get more our name out there more. So I called the segments "Cooking for My Pregnant Wife," and so I would cook a meal.
That's cool.
And then I would go and serve it to her and film her reaction, and she'd rate it good or bad. And I think one of the funniest ones was I made what I thought was a great crab cake BLT, and I went and served it to her. And she ate it, and she was in her defense, she was kind of in the middle of working. She works from home, and so I think she was a little bit distracted. So she took a bite, and then she was like, "Oh, I mean, yeah, it's I'd give it a 7 out of 10." And I'm like, "Okay, 7 out of 10." 10 minutes later, she comes down and she's like, "Okay, so about the BLT, I think I gotta give it a 3 out of 10. I just wasn't a big fan." So,
right, but she didn't want to say it on camera.
Well, no, I mean, I filmed her saying it because she was like, she said, "Rob, just if you want a revised score, you may want to record what I'm about to say." I was like, "Oh Lord, okay." So, but it was fun. So,
you think that was just like it was too mature foods for the kid inside of her?
I think that when women are pregnant, I mean, something. Her cravings were really big about hamburgers. She loved a good salad when she was pregnant.
Gotcha.
So she, I think it was just the hormones. But luckily I've made that since, and she's chowed down. Yeah, she just didn't like shrimp during her pregnancy for some reason. It was just something about shrimp. I think.
Gotcha.
I think if I had done like New Orleans style chicken nuggets, I think she probably would have loved that much better when she was pregnant.
Well, you'll know next time.
Yes, 100%. Well, yeah, for sure.
So speaking on that of understanding your wife's taste buds better for the recipes, Are there any other traits that you've learned along the way in catering to people in this business?
Yeah. So most catering businesses, they have a list of either it's dishes or, options for you to choose from for your event or your dinner or whatever it may be. I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to just have certain things for people to choose from because everyone has different tastes. Everyone has a different budget. And so when we started SheepsHead, I wanted to custom make people's menus. And that's what we continue to do to this day, since day one. So
if I were a client,
yeah.
What do you mean by custom make? How would you present that?
So essentially, when you contact me, I tell you to go to the website, and there's a foodie form. We have different sections on the website, but there's a foodie form on each section. And so let's just say you want a private dinner for 5.
Right.
So go to the website, go to the foodie form under the personal chef services, and then fill it out. And on that form, I ask you, your likes, your dislikes, your allergies, your budget, how many people are going to be there, that sort of thing. And then I'll give you a call, reach out, and then I talk to my clients over the phone and figure out, kind of give them what I'm thinking, ideas, what I'm thinking, and then just kind of hear more about, their tastes, their likes, their dislikes, what the occasion is. If it's an anniversary, maybe try and make the dishes a little bit more elevated and romantic. If it's like just a casual dinner for friends, maybe make something, not as high end, but still nice and, that sort of thing. So
this just seems like such a groundbreaking industry. Is this a common thing that there's like private chefs around? Like, what's the field like?
In Mobile, there are a few private chefs. I don't think there's a whole lot that follow, that I know of that follow how I do it, as far as, just making custom menus and custom dinners. And I mean, we do weddings and everything like that too. And we use the same principle for weddings, and we've done some Mardi Gras balls. But there are some other private chefs in Mobile, but I don't think the market's, that huge,
right? I mean, yeah, because it's just as long as you're known, and it's like either we make food at the house or we go to a restaurant.
Right.
Having somebody that kind of you're on the phone with, like an insurance agent, or like an advisor that's connecting with you on a basic need like food is right. It seems ingenious.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're just found out that you're allergic to shellfish, right? And so let's say you wanted, some barbecue styles. Maybe you're feeling homesick from New Orleans and you wanted some barbecue style New Orleans shrimp, but you're allergic to shrimp, so you can't have that. But let's say it's crawfish season. So, you're allergic to crustaceans.
Yeah,
so
you're making it worse.
I know, sorry. But, but the point is, I could make a dish where I use, beef or do a barbecue style short rib or something like that and serve it over some creamy grits and, that sort of thing. Right. So, it's always fun to kind of play around and it keeps me from getting bored. I think that was one of the problems whenever I was running kitchens, because I opened up Hole in the Wall that's attached to O'Daly's whenever they first opened up. And then, I was at Game Over Retro Pub and made their menu as well. But you still have to, kind of answer to the people who owned the bar or the people that owned the thing. And
did those connections when you were at Hole in the Wall help with the most recent Tiki Week, getting that set up?
Oh, for sure.
And how was that Tiki Week?
Oh, Tiki Week was great. Yeah, we posted up at Post downtown, and we had a pop up at Brickyard the next day. But definitely working downtown. I mean, that's another key. If you're gonna be an entrepreneur and if you want to start your own business, you got to network. And Absolutely. The reason I got the job to open up Hole in the Wall was because I had met Matt Lamont when he was a DJ.
Really?
Yeah.
He was a DJ?
He was a DJ. DJ Lemon D. He may hate me if he sees this for,
How old was he when he was a DJ?
He's a few years older than me. He's I think 3 or 4 years older than me. But I mean, I was going to South at the time. He would DJ a lot at Bojangles, and I had one of my fraternity brothers owned Bojangles, and so that's where we would go a lot. But I went off to culinary school and came back, and he wanted to open up food, and he reached out to me, and yeah. So, but I mean, to make a long story short, just network, and then working downtown, just meeting, different vendors and different bar owners and restaurant owners, and just different people of all walks of life that just come in to just have a drink or get some food. I mean, it's definitely extremely helpful. So that environment was extremely helpful to help me move forward with,
especially
where I
in a
was
city
going.
like Mobile.
Oh yeah,
but the ability to make connections, remember those connections, and know how to use them is something that I'm trying to hone as well. It's a good.
Yeah, I mean, this podcast is the perfect way to do it.
Right,
I mean,
thank you, brother.
You've talked to countless musicians and different types of people. So
and now we're breaking into the food industry.
There we go. Yeah, I mean, you've taught a few food people before me too. So hell yeah.
They say food is music to the soul.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's funny. Our slogan, or that we have for SheepsHead, is "Don't be eye candy, be soul food."
Don't be ear candy, be soul food.
There you go. I like it.
Music feeds the soul, but food feeds the future. Right here on the Gulf Coast, thousands of families don't know where their next meal is coming from. Feeding the Gulf Coast is changing that tune one meal at a time. Imagine this. For every $1, you can provide up to 5 meals. That's like turning a quiet solo into a full-blown jam session of hope for someone in need. Let's turn the volume up on kindness and down on hunger. Visit feedingthegulfcoast.org to donate today, because together we can make sure no one goes hungry on or off the stage. Feeding the Gulf Coast, because every community deserves an encore. Whoa, 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 don't let the dogs out. The City of Mobile Animal Shelter has many loving pets ready for a nice home. Whether you're looking for a dog like Snoop or a cat like Doja, the City of Mobile Animal Shelter is where you can find your next friendly companion. They're located at 855 Owen Street, and you can stop by anytime between 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. We all need a little bow wow in our lives. Call 251-208-2800 because the City of Mobile Animal Shelter has you covered. That's 251-208-2800. Roof. Yes, it's another thing that I'm trying to get into. I've been cooking for myself throughout the whole summer, and I think I've touched like 5 to 6 dishes at most, and I don't even season my veggies. I just put my veggies on top after. It's I'm really beginner level.
Sure.
And the slow cooker is my best friend.
Oh yeah.
It's really cool that you've started cooking classes, and it's something that I'm definitely considering. Talk on that.
So our cooking classes are really fun, and they're one of my favorite things to do because we go to people's homes and we teach them how to make food, a dish there. And typically most people want to do pasta. Right. So we make pasta from scratch.
Why do you think that is that people love pasta?
I think it's because it's just everyone loves pasta. And there's not a whole it's surprising how many people haven't had fresh pasta, because fresh pasta compared to, box pasta or, pasta that you just get from a store, it is completely different.
Really? So like me putting Rouse's bag of pasta into the slow cooker and getting it 8 hours later, it's not fresh pasta.
No. Like, gotcha. Whenever I go, we get flour, egg, oil, and we make it by hand. And I have a pasta machine that we put the dough through, we let it rest, and all that stuff. And it's just,
it's more fun and creative.
It's more fun. It's great for get a lot of date nights. I get a lot of birthdays, bachelorette parties that like to do it. And it's just something fun because, when you're in the comfort of your own home and you're making, something from scratch with your hands, very similar to you just having your friends over and they all bring their instruments and y'all are just having fun making music, So it's a good way to bring people together. It's a good way to just have fun, and also it's a good way for people, and you get to keep the recipe. So like if we make, one of the most popular ones that people always want to do is they want to make homemade pasta and then a Tuscan cream sauce,
right,
and then some protein. It could be shrimp, it could be chicken, beef, whatever. But you get to keep those recipes. So like, I show you how to do it essentially, and then you have those recipes forever and you can use them over and over and over again. And I get texts and pictures from people that are like, hey, it's like even a year later, like, hey, look what I made. I did the dish again. And like the pasta turned out great again and all that.
You don't find that being such an open book with your recipes, like posting them on Instagram, or might hurt the business at all?
No, because it's just, not everybody's going to want to make a 4-course meal from scratch. Not
because of how long it takes and how.
Yeah, I mean it's long. It can be expensive depending on what the ingredients are. But no, and like I think why I have that is because when I was in New Orleans, I worked at. This was right after culinary school. I worked at a restaurant called Restaurant August. And they,
I've heard of Restaurant August.
Yeah. Really nice restaurant, multiple James Beard Award winner. Yeah. It was a great place to work at. And the first time I ate there, had already gotten an externship there, but I just hadn't started yet. So my parents flew me down from Boston, and we went and ate there because I was like, I would like to eat here before I work there. But the chef at the time was John Besh.
That's how I know it.
He went through some stuff, but I wanted to eat there before I started working there, just to know what the food was like. Right. And we went and ate there, and they had this gnocchi dish that they still have to this day, and it was the best gnocchi still that I've ever had. And I was like, man, I wish I could get the recipe. And the server overheard me. She said, "Do you want the recipe to the gnocchi?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "Okay, well, whenever your meal's over, when you're about to leave, I'll be sure to bring it out to you." And I was like, "For real?" She's like, "Oh yeah, anything that you eat that you like here, and if you want the recipe, I don't know if they still do this, but at the time they did. They were like, we'll give you the recipe." And it was just because they know that yes, they can give you the recipe, and you can make it at home, but you're still going to come back to August for the experience. And like that's why, like I don't mind giving my recipes to people because
it adds a layer of comfort as well, right?
Yes, but people are still going to hire me,
right,
for the experience, for that private, because that's what being a private chef is, and doing these dinner parties. Mm-hmm. It's an experience because you're essentially having, a fine dining meal, or or not so fine dining meal, right. In the comfort of your own home.
Yeah, that's interesting, but I think you see that in many fields as well. In anything that somebody kind of creates, music, a producer will create a template for how they mix and master.
Yeah,
and oftentimes they don't share it, but occasionally, a producer will share it just because they know that people are there to only record their songs. Like even if you share it, it's still a bunch of work to go through and do all that stuff, and they trust your ear, in the same way that they trust your sensibilities in the kitchen.
Right. And you never know who you're going to influence. When I was in culinary school, I worked at a restaurant called Evu in Boston. And it was a great restaurant. It was like half pizza kitchen, half like fine dining restaurant. And the head chef, I'll never forget, was breaking down a whole rabbit in the back for, it's like rabbit confit or some rabbit dish. But I was really curious. But I was really curious about, like how to break it down. Because, we didn't break down rabbit in culinary school. We did like chickens and.
It still had like its fur on it?
Oh, no. It was just the carcass of the rabbit. But it was just like, breaking it down, like taking off the thighs and all that stuff.
Sorry, it's a sick mind.
No, you're good. We do live in the South, There's a lot of hunters that I'm sure have cleaned rabbit from top to bottom.
That's what I'm saying,
But I was really curious, and I went up to him and I said, "Hey, chef, can I watch you break this down?" And he moved like he was trying to block the view of the rabbit. He said, "No, you need to go back to prepping." And I was I was like, okay,
right.
And I just didn't understand but he was very guarded about a lot. That particular chef was very guarded about a lot of things in that restaurant, like how to do it. It's like he didn't want to teach.
Right. I mean, that is, again, in music, you see that as well.
Sure.
And I think that's human nature. And
Oh, yeah.
It's
Don't want to give away your secrets or whatever.
if you come from a situation where you feel like you've made it in that particular industry, and like you're not going to let anything take it away from you.
Sure.
I think you see that with some producers where they're very seclusive about what they practice.
Right.
But, yeah, it's definitely a testament to the producer of it, whatever it is, that
Right.
They're able to be vulnerable with what they.
Sure. And don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some things that I'm not going to give away. Like my bread pudding recipe is top notch, man.
Right.
And I will never give that away.
That's going down the generation.
That's going to be staying within the family. Yeah. Like, and there's other recipes that I have that I can't think of off the top of my head that I, probably won't give away. But I mean, if I was in the kitchen breaking down a chicken and I had like a novice chef, come up or a cook that was just interested and be like, hey, can I watch you break that down? Just kind of see how it's done. Like,
how many recipes do you think you have?
Hundreds.
Do you think it's tough to maintain those? Like, remember those?
No, because I make notes a lot whenever I cook. Just because especially now that I have my own business, I have to be consistent.
It's funny how it's similar. Like a band that performs cover songs, goes through 100 songs and will play like 15 for a show or something.
Yeah,
just randomly.
Sure.
Yeah. It's really funny.
It's very similar. Like because I'll have going back to the pasta making class, I always send the list. I do have a list for that, but if people don't like what's on the list, I can always make up another one and send them some new stuff. But when I send the list about like the sauces that go with the pasta, 8 out of 10 times people are going for that Tuscan cream sauce pasta, and I just know it. Yeah. But there's other recipes on so it's very similar to that. It's like like you said, the band will have 20 songs, but people may just want to hear 3 of them.
Right. We play Tennessee whiskey every event.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Y'all want to hear Mick Jagger?
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Are there any kind of nuances with cooking that you found that, again, with the music reference, sometimes like guitarists have like a certain way of playing a riff, or that the beginner level or people that aren't familiar wouldn't even think of. Like I went to a restaurant and they mixed pomegranates with guacamole on a taco.
Okay, that sounds tasty.
Is there anything that you've that's like just peak level of culinary that you've kind of discovered?
That I've discovered, like personally, man, put me on the spot.
We need some guru knowledge.
I know. Well, I'm sure there has been something that I've done that's just kind of off the. Well, I don't think it's really technique. I think like technique has been done in culinary school or in the culinary world, and it's just you kind of figure out your own ways of doing things. It's kind of like making gumbo. Making gumbo is time consuming, it's expensive, and it requires a lot of patience. But there's
all 3 of those traits don't align with Louisiana.
Yeah.
So it's surprising.
No, but it's very. But if you go to New Orleans and you go to different restaurants and you try each gumbo is going to taste different. So and I did this in Boston. Everywhere I went that had clam chowder, I got a bowl of clam chowder, and it all tasted different. Every single one tastes different. So I think it's kind of like the techniques are universal for culinary, but it's up to the individual cook or chef to make it their own.
Absolutely.
And so I think that's kind of I actually did do so. I'm part of this organization called Choose Wisely Alabama, and it's spelled chew like you chew food. And they're part of Blue Cross Blue Shield, and it's basically they're like kind of an initiative to get Alabamians to eat healthier. And so it's my job with them to make up like healthy, kind of easy, family-friendly recipes. So one that I did recently was a stuffed crust tortilla pizza. So this isn't anything like groundbreaking, I don't think, but it was something I hadn't seen before, but I was just kind of like playing around with. But basically, like, you get a tortilla and you have like string cheese that you cut in half, 2 pieces, and then you wrap up the edges of the tortilla with the string cheese, and you keep it together with toothpicks. Then you put your sauce and cheese and whatever toppings you want on, put it in the oven, and it's basically stuffed crust, pizza. And I don't know. I thought that was, kind of a playful, inventive thing that you could do with, like your kids, or even, college kids, can do it, like living in their, dorm, or,
yeah, you do that. You're the coolest person.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So, I mean, I think it's just very similar to music. It's just about, playing different chords and seeing if they sound good, if they feel good to you. And if they do, like, great, because, there's going to be some things that, some cooks can do better than others, and same with musicians.
Right. Hey, fighters, listen up. Are you tired of feeling like your conditioning holds you back in competition? It's time to bridge the gap between theory and real performance. At Dexter's Fitness Center, we're launching a combat sports strength and conditioning program designed for boxers, kickboxers, MMA fighters, and combat athletes who want to get faster, stronger, and more flexible while building the endurance to go the distance. No more outdated workouts, no more burnout. This program is built to enhance your skill work, prevent injuries, and maximize your potential without wasting your time or overwhelming your body. Training starts August 12th at Dexter's Fitness Center, 1900 Government Street, Mobile, Alabama. Sessions are Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. and Saturdays from 11:30 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. If you're ready to step into every fight confident, prepared, and in peak condition, call 251-709-2654 or email contact@dextersfitnesscenter.com today. Let's build the fighter you're meant to be.
Is this broad labor? I'd like to talk to you about the possibility of moving a couple of things for me from my daughter's house to my garage.
Yeah.
Where do you see SheepsHead Eats in the next few years?
So I don't think I see a brick and mortar in our future. Just because, one, to be very frank, Mobile's rent when it comes to restaurants and bars is just astronomical. Gotcha. And Mobile's a very funny town when it comes to food. There've been restaurants that open up that, are great and they just don't last. And then there are restaurants that open up that are terrible and they're still around. And, but I mean, there's great restaurants in Mobile. But I think we're good with our trajectory. We're still going to do the private chef thing. There may be, some sort of food cart or food truck in the future. I was going
to ask about that, if that translates at all.
Yeah, I think it does. I love doing the pop-ups. I think you'll start seeing us do more pop-ups in the future, because those are always fun. It's a good way to kind of get out. And, whenever we had talked before this about me, coming and doing a dinner for, you and your friends, and you're like, well, they're college kids, they have a limited budget. So doing these pop-ups is a good way to get me out there and be able to serve people that maybe wouldn't normally, hire a private chef.
Right.
And to still let them try our food and get our name out there and just like, just feed people that we don't always get to feed.
Right.
So definitely more pop-ups, but yeah, I think, food cart or food truck could definitely be in the future. It's something that me and my wife have talked about, but we just had we have a 13-month-old, so I think if that does happen, it's going to be kind of a few years down the road once she's kind of out of the toddler stage.
What a cool just part of life to be in. It's really commendable what you have going on with having a business set up and having the family going well.
I appreciate it, man. It definitely hasn't been easy, but
you're winning, brother.
Yeah, I think so. I think we're doing good.
How many people do you have on your SheepsHead Eats teams?
Me and my wife.
Got it.
That's it.
Would you ever consider adding more chefs to service more clients?
We have discussed that, and it's just trying to figure out the logistics of it because, like I said, Mobile, there is a market for the private chefs. I mean, I'm almost booked through December right now.
Let's go, man.
I mean, it's great. People have started to figure out to give me a call, a few months in advance, just because
Jeez, man. How does the I guess former waiter now have restaurant reservations? That's awesome.
Yeah, it's great. But as far as bringing on permanent staff, I was in the restaurant industry for so long, especially in Mobile as well, and I know so many people. So if we ever have a wedding, there's very few weddings that I can do by myself, and so I'll call upon some of my service industry friends, whether they're still in it or not,
right, and
just be like, hey, do you want to make some extra money this weekend for a few hours and come help me with this wedding? And because we still I still have to go through and get the business license. I have to get my food handler's card, and so we still are doing everything up to snuff. So but as far as taking on, I think if we got the food cart or a food truck, definitely bring on some actual staff, but we just don't really need them right now.
Jeez, man. Would you have a little jingle on the food truck? Make it like an ice cream truck?
I don't know. Maybe you want to make it?
Right.
You could write it for me.
Yeah, SheepsHead Eats is in town.
Yeah.
And because he's,
That's not a bad idea.
Right.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea at all.
Doing bachelor nights and date nights, is that just an interesting dynamic? When you brought that up earlier, I was interested. It's sorry.
No, you're good. Those are a lot of fun, and because everybody's, especially the bachelorette or bachelor parties, everybody's cutting loose. Yeah. Everybody's usually a little tipsy, so everybody's, they're either, in their own little world doing their own thing, or they're, they're wanting to talk to me and everything and be involved and see what I'm doing, which is fine. There's some
somebody check the oven,
right? Or can I stir this? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead, you can stir that. Because there's some private chefs out there that are like, don't talk to me while I'm doing this. Leave me alone until it's over. Right. But I just think it's more fun if your clients can talk with you, joke around with you. I get so many people that just want to sit in the kitchen and just watch me cook and talk to me, and and it's a good time. Those bachelorette parties can definitely. I feel like I have a verbalized non-disclosure agreement with my clients. It's whatever I see, it stays in your house. Whatever I see and hear, it stays in your house.
Right. You're a cool chef.
Yeah, maybe so.
Have there ever been any date nights that you've done where it's kind of turned sour and you still got to prepare the food?
No, I haven't had any date nights that turned sour. I did have an event though that definitely turned sour, and it was at a particular organization in Mobile. I'm not going to say the name, but this girl that I knew had hired us a few times to make like a charcuterie board for this organization that we did, and they were having a Christmas party. And she wanted to hire us for the Christmas party, and we were like, "Oh yeah, let's go, let's do it." So asked her if I felt for him, gave a budget, everything like that.
So she just wanted a charcuterie board.
No, she wanted they were having like a Christmas party, and so she wanted like a dinner.
Got it.
And this is like when I say an organization, like it's a members club,
right?
And so it's going to be about 110 people. And
do those numbers ever scare you?
Not anymore.
Okay, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're fine. Well, and the reason they don't is because at first they did, but like we've done so many weddings for 100 people, 200 people. We've done Mardi Gras balls, Mardi Gras rooms, so we're having to feed 400 people. So,
One last question.
Yeah,
go ahead. That because in music, some people point out this is the case where it's easier to perform in front of a large crowd than it is to a tiny crowd.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Especially because with the larger crowds, everything, there's not as much finesse that has to go on right there. If I'm making a dinner or if I'm making food for a room for Mardi Gras, and having to feed 400 people. I mean, everything's, in our hot box and chafing dishes, all we have to do is just refill and that's it. But if I'm doing a dinner for 10 for someone's anniversary, I got to make sure, and I overcook a steak. I mean, I'm not in a restaurant where I can just reach in and grab another steak and fix my, can I cuss?
Yeah.
Fuck up. I can't fix that.
That's
so
how you some passion. It's I gotta say it how it is.
So it is. I would agree that it's a lot of times easier, or less stressful with bigger parties. Now the preparing part, like the prep part for bigger parties, that's more stressful than prepping for a dinner, smaller dinner. But once you actually get there, the dinner's more stressful.
And sorry to cut you off in the story.
Oh, you're good. So to make the long story short, though, she hired us and she basically said, this organization has members that, she essentially called them white trashy. She was like, they don't really have very good palates. They're not very adventurous and everything like that, which is fine. I mean,
Right, but that's not how you event plan.
Well, right. So she was like, we just I think we want some chicken parm, some jambalaya, something for dessert. And the menu was just kind of all over the place. And I was just like, okay, so meatballs. And I was like, okay. If this is what you want, okay, that's fine.
Right.
So we get there, we set up, and people are just not happy. The food tasted fine, but they're just not happy because it's not what they usually got. So we actually talked to the president of this organization. He came in and checked in on us, and he was like, and I told him, I said, this is what so-and-so said you guys wanted, and he said, it's just typically, we usually have a couple of sides, a couple of mains, maybe a carving board and a pasta dish, a salad, and it's like a normal dinner buffet.
Yeah, so she just confused you.
I think she just thought of this the most basic stuff you can think of and said, this is what we want. And it was me and my wife Raven, and we walked through this room full of people, and you could just feel the eyes on us. They just hated us. They just hated the menu, they just were not. I think we could have served filet mignon that night, but it was just not what they were thinking they were going to get, and they were just pissed. I think they were, from what I was told, they were expecting pork loin carving board, and then a nice pasta dish, and then some broccoli and green beans and salad and rolls and butter and a dessert. There was nothing like that. And so we just, once the time was up, we packed up and we got the hell out of there. Did
y'all ask for the money or?
Oh well, no, I mean they paid us in
Okay,
advance.
good.
Yeah, they paid us in advance. But I just felt bad because I was like, we could have given you what you wanted,
Right.
but the person that was in charge of telling us what you guys wanted, she didn't know what you guys wanted, so it just got lost in translations. But we have not heard from that organization since then. So that's one bridge that's unfortunately burned.
Right.
But but that was probably the worst.
You can't control it, though.
No, but that was probably the worst experience that we had.
Gotcha. Let's see. I think I have one more question. When you're putting together food, and what sticks out to you the most of the, be it preparing it for other people or for yourself, just the concept of cooking? What's your favorite part?
I think it's just playing around. I'm like a kid in a sandbox. Like I love Southern flavors and I love Asian flavors a lot. So a lot of times I try and combine those two things. But like even when I gave you today, it was essentially a play on chicken Alfredo, but it had,
I thought it was tofu at first.
Yeah. But good tofu, right?
Right.
Yeah. But it was
like in looking at it, it looked like an Asian dish.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Right. So, like for that one, instead of chicken Alfredo, I made, like little Cajun chicken balls that I breaded and fried. And then with the Alfredo sauce, I did like how you typically make Alfredo with milk and cheese, but instead of parm, I used pepper jack and I added some homemade Nashville hot sauce to it and then some pumpkin puree because it's getting a little folly, So
that's how you know you're good, man.
Yeah.
You just gotta put some pumpkin puree.
Yeah, So I like to kind of play around and just to rewind, talking about the Mobile restaurant scene. I think the restaurant scene here is growing, and I think it's
What do you think needs to improve?
I think variety. I think variety really needs to improve, and I think using Alabama seafood definitely needs to be a priority because there's no excuse for these restaurants around here to not have Gulf shrimp, Gulf oysters, a lot of them do serve Gulf fish, but a lot of times those restaurants are the higher end ones that, college kids can't necessarily enjoy all the time. The people with lower incomes can't necessarily enjoy all the time. And I definitely think because if you go to a lot of these restaurants, the oysters that you're getting on a half shell are mostly from Louisiana or Texas. And I mean, there's a whole other argument to be had about how the oyster beds in the Bay in Alabama are, dwindling for different factors, but we won't have to get into that. But yeah, I think using Alabama seafood should be a priority. And also, I think, like I said, variety. I mean, Chris Andrews, who runs Beanville Bites Food Tours, he always comes out every year with like the upcoming restaurants and things like that are coming out. And I think on this past year's list there was like 5 Mexican places, which is fine. I love Mexican food as much as the next person, but we don't have a French restaurant, in Mobile. There's just so many. We just recently got a dim sum restaurant in Mobile. I just think we could just use a variety. But once again, the city, the people that live here have to support that kind of thing. But also, it has to be good. Yeah. I mean, you can't just open up like a French restaurant and it just be crap. Right. So I don't know. That's what I think. But I don't own a restaurant, and I don't know how hard it is to start that up. And I'm just a humble private chef. So, there are people that know more about that. They're far more educated than I am.
What's the next Tiki week?
Next Tiki week is next year.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
What's your next? Do you have another event?
So the next pop-up, I want to do a couple of pop-ups in the fall and winter.
Right.
I love making dumplings, but I think for the fall and winter, that's what we did for Tiki Week. We did some dumplings, and we did a few other things, and we did a pop-up at Monroe's, which is the new Midtown pub/restaurant. Last Tuesday, we just did dumplings. So I love making dumplings because you can play around with dumplings and just make them just different
Right.
flavors and all that stuff. And I like to make my own dumpling dough as well. Yeah, I think the next pop-up, I'm going to be in the UK from next Saturday through the beginning of October with the wife and kid. So when I get back, we'll definitely be hitting the ground running.
Man, yeah, I don't know how I forgot to talk about that.
Oh, no, you're good. Yeah.
What's that all about?
I mean, I have an uncle and some cousins and aunt that lives over there, so we're going to go visit them. And, I don't really honestly have any, like, restaurant reservations. There's a restaurant that we are going to for dinner called Fallow that I'm super excited about. We're going to go to Edinburgh, Scotland for a little bit. That's going to be a lot of fun. My brother-in-law told me there's a place you can get the best mussels of your life. So I got to get the name of that.
That was my first food, actually, mussels.
Well, really? Do you still like them?
I really haven't tapped into them as much, but I had this Croatian grandpa, and he just, all he did was trawl and fish all day.
Love it.
And he gave the grandkids, mussels when our grandma was.
Oh, yeah. I love that. All right. Get me started early, man. That's how it's done. That's what we do with our daughter. We just try and let her taste a little bit of everything. So, just so she's not a chicken tender and fries type of guy later in life,
Exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, really cool. Do you think that in setting up your own pop-ups is kind of like, are there similar ways of how musicians will prepare a festival or a concert? Like making sure the audio system's right. Do you find that with setting up a pop-up? Yeah,
you definitely have to have a good, depending on what we're serving, but you definitely have to have like, kind of set up a mini kitchen, like your stations, like where everything is, have a good flow, like just make sure everything's
what makes
going.
A good flow?
So it just depends on the menu, to be honest with you. But you want to make sure that everything's moving in the same direction. So like, if you have, so for instance, we had a pig and grits bowl for Tiki week. Yeah. So basically, we had I'm trying to remember, but we had like the grits here, then we had the pork here, and then the topping here, and then the sauce here. So it could just boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Instead of like going from here to here to here to there.
Mm-hmm. So the sauce on the pig and not even touching the
right, exactly. So it just it just all depends on the menu. But I want to try and do some soup pop-ups because I like to play around with some soup pop-ups during the wintertime. Especially, I mean, like when you're out at the bar or something like that. And you just
late night soup.
Yeah, you just want like a little like cup of soup. Yeah, and it's not going to be, there's nothing wrong with just some good old-fashioned chicken noodle or gumbo or stuff like that. But I feel like with pop-ups, you got to up the ante a little bit. So, it'll be soups that, either, you haven't heard of, or it'll be soups that, are just kind of like a play on something else. And, yeah, so I want to try and do a few of those this fall and winter for sure.
Really cool, man. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to address?
I don't think so. Y'all everybody who's listening, watching, y'all can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, SheepsHead Eats. Our website, SheepsHeadEats.com, if you ever want to like inquire. They're free inquiries about, we work within your budget. Yeah. It doesn't all have to be fine dining. It's we try and be, that's how we started, and that's how I want to try and remain, just work within people's budgets.
Yeah. What's the meaning of SheepsHead Eats?
I think it's don't be eye candy, be soul food.
Okay. Cool,
just like level it up a little bit.
But like in terms of like SheepsHead Eats, like how'd you come up with that name?
Oh, the actual name. So in college, I was a bit of a party animal. There's a reason I dropped out of college and took a break and then went to culinary school. But I was not the most responsible person in the world. And so a lot of people didn't really have faith in me that I would go places,
That's how you know you're going to go places.
Yeah, well, now I do. Now I do know that. So whenever we were trying to figure out a name for SheepsHead, I had been with Raven for 2 years at that point. We weren't even engaged yet, but she had just so much faith in me about like my abilities and what I could accomplish. And it's just great. So I really wanted to kind of have the name, give the middle finger to people who didn't have faith in me. Yeah. And so when I chose SheepsHead is considered a trash fish.
Gotcha.
But it's absolutely delicious. They feed on crustaceans, and so their meat is really kind of like has a sweeter texture, and you can actually make like a faux West Indies salad with their meat because it kind of has like a crab taste to it a little bit.
Hell yeah, man.
So I wanted the name to kind of be SheepsHead Eats. I wanted it to be like, well, people are going to look at Sheep's Head and be like, well, it's trash fish,
Right.
but
it's actually
actually amazing, and it's actually delicious. So
that's cool, man.
yeah, so that's how the name came about.
Similarly, musicians will have songs that have a deeper level of
Right.
meaning, so it's really cool how you
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
man.
thanks for having me, man.
Yes, sir.
This was great.
Guys, thank y'all for tuning in to today's episode. Catch SheepsHead Eats at the next pop-up, and try some soup after O'Daly's next time. So
Yeah.
we'll see you guys in the next wave.
Thanks.
Welcome to the Gulf Coast. Welcome to the Gulf Coast. Welcome to the Gulf Coast.